Whilst doing some research into the T4 killings which took place here at Piaśnica, north of Wejherowo in Poland, I came across the following story which referred to the murder of children which had taken place some 40 years earlier. On the morning of the 9th of September 1898, two 7-year-old girls left their parents' home near Lechtingen, north of Osnabrück, to go to school. Their naked, dismembered and disemboweled bodies were found in a forest near the school path at midday. Police arrested a local carpenter, Ludwig Tessnow, and were able to match a button found at the scene of the crime to one missing from his suit. He adamantly denied committing the crime, stating that the conspicuous stains on his clothing were wood stain, not blood. As in Germany at the time it was believed that only a mentally deranged person could commit such a gruesome act, and as Tessnow showed no signs of mental illness, he was released due to lack of evidence. 3 years later, on the evening of the 1st of July 1901, the two 5- and 7-year-old sons of the carter, Gravet, disappeared in the Baltic seaside resort of Guerin on the island of Rügen. After an all-night search, their bodies were found on the following morning. They had been mutilated in the same way as the two children in Lechtingen. The younger one's skull had been smashed, the neck severed down to his spine, and his torso opened with a cut through the entire abdomen. The intestines were hanging out and the heart was missing. The skull of the older boy was smashed, the body was severed in the middle, and the pelvis section with 2 legs were only found later. Tessnow now lived nearby, having moved from the Osnabrück area. He had been seen talking to the boys on the day of the murder. His clothes were covered with numerous stains, which he again explained as coming from materials he had used in his carpentry business. Inquiries to his former home in Lechtingen were made and details of the earlier crime were shared. Another incident came to light during the investigation. 2 weeks earlier, several sheep had been killed in a pasture, dismembered and their entrails scattered. A farmer had seen the perpetrator run away and recognized that person as Tessnow. The examining judge commissioned Paul Uhlenhuth to examine the clothing. Uhlenhuth had been an assistant at the Institute of Hygiene at the University of Greifswald since 1899 and a former employee of Robert Koch. Shortly before, Uhlenhuth was the first to develop a method that allowed the detection of human and animal blood. This is called the blood precipitin test. He found numerous bloodstains on Tessnow's clothing, and he was able to identify what was sheep's blood and what was human blood. In the spring of 1902, Tessnow was tried in Greifswald, in which Uhlenhuth's report was presented. The verdict was guilty, and Tessnow was sentenced to death. When the execution date was announced, Tessnow suffered an epileptic seizure which prompted a psychiatric evaluation of the condemned man. Though judged sane by 4 psychiatrists, a retrial was ordered. Tessnow was convicted again. An appeal hearing in Leipzig on the 14th of March 1904 confirmed the verdict. Tessnow was executed by beheading in the yard of the Greifswald prison, and that would have been it. At least it was until 2016, when some rather surprising evidence turned up. He was not executed at all. The archives at the Stralsund State Mental Hospital revealed that Tessnow was transferred to this psychiatric clinic and he remained there until 1939. The reason for the commutation of the sentence could have been because he had had an operation in 1903. Alternatively, it could have been due to the new technology. At the beginning of World War II, the National Socialists started to kill life, not worthy of life, as they put it. People who had mental or physical defects were sent to various institutions, such as Grafenegg, Bernburg, Hadamar, and others, where they were murdered. However, there was one location where thousands of people from Germany and newly occupied Poland were sent. This was here, at Piaśnica, close to what is today Wejherowo. then named Neustadt, during the Nazi occupation. It was in this forest that not only the mentally and physically challenged, but also Polish intellectuals and others who were seen as a threat to the Nazis were killed. Tessnow was probably also killed here with a shot in the back of the neck while standing over a trench. He was classified as uncured, and as a 68-year-old convicted murderer in a mental asylum, he would have had no chance. So why was the commutation of his death sentence in 1904 kept secret? That I do not know. I would guess it was either because of the operation or he'd had the previous year, because he was convicted on blood evidence, and that was absolutely new at the time. But that's just my guess, and my guess is as good as yours. I know this story leaves more questions than answers, but I am unable to say any more about it. As an aside, I will tell you about the National Socialist history of Paul Uhlenhuth, the person who made this important breakthrough in forensic medicine. Aged 63 when Hitler came to power, on the 11th of April 1933 he was one of the signatories to a decree that demanded the dismissal of Jewish colleagues, as a result of which 39 people lost their jobs at the University of Freiburg, where he then was. In 1937, aged 67, he became a member of the National Socialist German Workers' Party. On the 18th of August 1942, he became an extraordinary member of the Scientific Senate of the Army Medical Service. In this function, he applied in 1944 to the High Command of the Wehrmacht to carry out immunization tests on coloured prisoners of war and to examine their blood. Uhlenhuth was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Medicine several times between 1910 and 1952. He died on the 13th of December 1957 in Freiburg. His National Socialist time activities went completely unpunished. I hope you found that interesting. I upload every Friday at 2000 hours my time. I'm in either Germany or Poland usually. And I also upload at other times, so if you subscribe then you'll know when I'm uploading at other times. I also do frequent live broadcasts as well, and this gives you a chance to actually communicate with me and other viewers at the same time. So thanks for watching.